Reboot It!
Hey everyone, I'm Ron Swallow, and welcome back to Reboot Rewind, the official after show for Reboot It. Today we're enacting Ghost Protocol as we face the fallout of our final reckoning and I don't know, something Rogue Nation. It's Mission Impossible, guys.
Nice. Nice. We've all been disavowed, as always happens.
As always, every time. You're disavowed, okay? You're gonna have to do. If you do this mission, we don't know about it. So the mission is this. This is one of the first episodes we've done where we tried to reboot a franchise as the new movie was hitting theaters the same weekend. Do you guys think that was a smart move?
I mean, we didn't get a ton of extra clicks, so I say no. But otherwise, this is a very successful episode.
I mean, I don't think it was we hadn't found ourselves in a situation yet where like this was an applicable type of setup. So we're like, let's see what happens. And also the film, I don't know if they actually ever really officially said it, but we all understood it was like the last one anyway. So it was like, hey, kind of makes sense. You go see the last Mission Impossible movie, then watch our reboot about where we take it from there, even though we recorded it a month before that even came out. So there was a lot of just like, well, let's try not to even touch what happens in the movie because we have no idea.
By the way, I just want to get this out right away. It is unbelievable how well our reboot could fit after that last movie. Because that last movie, which, again, I agree, they never actually committed to it being the last in the franchise, but it had the feeling of it. And it ends with Tom Cruise walking into the sunset with the world's most powerful AI trapped in a hard drive that only he has access to, after spending the entire movie justifying that, like, he's the only one we can ever trust to save the world. And our pitch then picks up with a bunch of people being recruited on the internet to a mysterious organization that seems to be using random algorithms to give them impossible missions. And it's like, I walked out of the theater going, no fucking way. Like that, it just worked too well.
Yeah. Yeah, and
That's
we
wild.
did record
I haven't
this
seen it
well
still.
before. Yeah, we recorded this well before the movie. Like that was remarkable.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Well, also like a huge criticism that I read of the movie or that people said was exactly what you said, Bill, which was like only Ethan Hunt can do only everything. And we decided to take our pitch the exact opposite way, where it's like almost everybody but Ethan Hunt can do all these missions. Like your next door neighbor who works at Ralph's could do this mission potentially. Which I do think is also just kind of a cool, like it's the contrast to the last movie. I don't think it goes against it at all. I think it kind of like maybe that's what Ethan trained the AI to do, which was to find people to not have to carry the burden of always being the impossible guy,
100%. I mean, even if you take it all the way and somewhere within our reboot, it's revealed that the man behind all of this is Ethan Hunt, like it still works within the canon of the movie, because it's like, that is the ultimate lesson that Ethan Hunt needed to learn, is like, if you try to save the movie by diving naked in the Arctic every couple months, at some point the world is going to end. So you got to find a new approach to this shit.
I think right there, that is very interesting, because people were saying that like our reboot was kind of like the Mr. and Mrs. Smith thing. And there's probably I haven't read the rundown, sorry, but there's probably a comment like that in there. But we'll address it at the time, but they have a much more familiar situation in that thing. They are forced to be together for a long time and do missions and stuff together. This is me, a secretary, a guy who's really good at drilling, and a safecracker are hurtling into the middle of the desert to stop a power plant from breaking down and poisoning the entire Southwest. That's different than Mrs. and Mrs. Smith or doing missions with a married, but that's different. That's
Well, especially
different. That's
'cause
so different.
Yeah, Mr. and Mrs. Smith are trained. They're still trained like spies.
Exactamundo.
And that's the whole point of this is we're finding people who have unique skills that would fit the mission that is needed at that moment. And I think that's
like,
was awesome.
And if somebody wanted to say it was a global frequency ripoff, I admit it in the pitch. When we're talking about it, I talk about like this needs to be more like something like the global frequency, where an algorithm that's made by people or not is selecting people. And we talked about numbers. Remember, talk about numbers like fucking Jim Caviezel and them, like something being able to predict stuff and blah, blah, blah. But that was again Michael Knight, one lone man against blah, blah. This is the what's that called? The wit that they call not the wit of the staircase. That's when you didn't say something in the moment and you think of it later. What's the thing? The intelligence, the intelligence of the crowd. There's we're tapping into that. Because like, people are dumb and individually and in groups. But if you parse those groups and find experts, people get really fucking smart because we're pooling a lot of effort into these people that know this stuff. So like we can find them, even find the undiscovered gems amongst them. We could accomplish impossible missions. Last thing I'll say in this filibuster, we did Mission Impossible, dummies. The mission is impossible. It's about the mission being impossible, not about one man being the dude that's doing the mission. Where we made impossible missions and then we figured out ways to put people in there to make it possible. That was the point. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
it was shifting the context of what Mission Impossible means. This mission is impossible for one person or even a trained group. The mission is only possible when you think outside the box by getting the candle maker, the store owner, the school teacher, and the firearm salesman. You know what I mean? That's how you solve it. So yeah, I think we were original enough.
God, we really did some cool shit this. You guys, look, we've done some cool shit. Like I say this every episode, but like if you're not following us and you're not subscribed to us and you're watching this and you wonder, oh, what do these guys do? Go back and watch this episode. If you're watching a Reboot Rewind, you haven't checked the other stuff out, go watch this episode. It's really creative and interesting. There is one question I would like to ask though, is why did we wait so long to do Mission Impossible? What do you think?
I think it was because two things, at least in my opinion. You guys can agree, disagree. One, I think James Bond scared us off a little bit from the spy stuff because everything that we pitched for the first 20 minutes of James Bond was Mission Impossible. And two, honestly, up until Dead Reckoning Part 1, or whatever they're calling it now, up until 7, those Mission Impossible movies were just untouchable. Like fatigue of that franchise just didn't seem possible. And it's not until these last two that it seemed like people were running out of steam on it. And so it kind of felt like we didn't want, I don't know if we wanted to tackle it when it was in its prime. I feel like that might have just been too daunting. So call us cowards, but we kind of waited until it was injured a little bit when it was limping. And then we bounced on it.
Look, we're smart hunters, okay? Let's just own it. No, I think that's dead on. I mean, I think that's also the reason why we've only ever operated on the outskirts of the MCU, because it feels like too much of a juggernaut. And in a lot of ways, like you're still waiting to see what they do. Like it would be a little bit presumptuous to reboot, to reboot Superman right now when they're literally in the middle of a fresh new reboot. Like, why would anybody want to hear that? And I think that is a little bit of where we were on Mission Impossible, because, I mean, Mission Impossible 4, 5, and 6 are just perfect summer action movies. And frankly, I still think that first Mission Impossible that Brian De Palma directed is a damn near perfect movie. Like it's just they're just doing everything they should be doing as well as you could do it. So yeah, I mean, I don't think we're cowards. I think we're respectful.
Sure.
Hey, that's do we need to hire Bill to rebrand anything?
Well, and hey, let me point out, like, I know we don't always do this on this show, but like, let's point out that those first 6 or so are team movies. Like, yeah, Ethan's important to the movie, but the team is just as important as Ethan in those movies. I would
argue 4 through 6 are. I'd say 1 and 2. Not, I mean, 1 has a very cool setup, and getting rid of the team is part of it. 2, they're like, don't even worry about it. 3, there's like inklings of it, and I actually was kind of surprised that no one from 3 ever made their way back into any of the other ones. But you know, live and learn, I guess. But yeah. I think like, and Ed was the one that when we did our pitch was really like, we've got to hit the team. We've got to hit the team. And it's just funny that that's where he was coming from and was feeling the weight of the Ethan Hunt before even seeing the new one, which is like just triples down on the, like, there's no team that, you know, that can live up to Kobe. You know, he's dragging everybody else with him to the finals, you know?
It's such a weird movie. I mean, I know that's not really what we're doing here, but it needs to be said that is such a weird movie. Like the almost compulsive desire to just keep hammering how great the character is diegetically in the movie is so weird.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because Maverick does the same thing, but I liked Maverick still.
I would argue no. I actually would disagree with that. I don't think Maverick hits it that hard, and I do think it's there. I do think that there's definite, like, that scene where he's just like, fuck it, I'll show you how to do this, and then does the whole run by itself. But imagine if that was the whole movie, was that scene. That's kind of what Mission Impossible Final Reckoning is.
Right. Right. Instead of everybody in the Navy like having a justified problem with Maverick, it was everybody in the Navy going, oh my God, I love Maverick. He's so great.
Yeah. That's funny. Okay, fair enough. Let's get into the pitch. Let's take a look at it.
I'm just gonna go ahead and call it. We have achieved reboot. Get me John Peters on the line, baby. We have turned Mission Impossible, which is a brand name with the highest prestige, into a brand new product befitting its status. This is the Mission Impossible Cinematic Universe. And within it, we have our first TV show, an anthology wherein we're bringing high-level talent to act in one-off episodes, undergirded, of course, by Mickey Rourke and Barbara Streisand in recurring roles. Can't forget that.
Boning on a beach.
Of course, they're going to be making love on a boat, on a beach, everywhere. They're making love everywhere. But on top of that, we're also going to be seeing a world in which an IMF app, an Impossible Mission Force app, has drawn volunteers from all over the world who have solved complex puzzles to put their name in the hat to take on an impossible mission. At the beginning of every episode, a group of these people will be contacted with those famous words, your mission, if you choose to accept it. And they will then be informed if anything goes wrong, they are disavowed. We will watch as they come together from different walks of life, with different motivations, with wildly different skill sets, to pull off very specific, sometimes very small jobs. And it's everything, like we said, from, replacing a guy's watch without him noticing, to stealing something from a penthouse, to maybe even a car chase, maybe even killing somebody. And within that, all of these average people who have volunteered to step out of their everyday lives for the good of this greater cause are going to be challenged with these weird moral conundrums. Will they do this? Can they do that? Will they work with the people that they've been drafted alongside? And then most importantly, can they go back to their everyday lives? At the end of the first season, we're going to have kind of our all-stars from throughout the anthology episodes come together for the last big mission, where it will be revealed that either Mickey Rourke or Barbara Streisand is actually the recruiter pulling the strings behind all these missions. We won't find out exactly what the IMF is, but we will find out that a new field team has been recruited for a movie spinoff. From there, those people can then either carry multiple movies or possibly, and we go back to season 2 of the anthology, where now we start to pick up the threads of what happens after the missions. What happens after you refuse a mission? What happens after a mission goes well and you come back to your old life and you feel like you can't tell anybody? What if you want to tell everybody? It's a broad reaching exploration of life after being a spy, life in the meat grinder of international spycraft. And along the way, we will be dropping hints about what the IMF is, what these missions are leading up to, but ultimately some of our most disaffected IMF members are going to get together to try to bring the organization down for the way it screwed them up. And that could carry us who knows how long. And get this, on top of it all, we've also created an alternate reality game where real people can sign up for a real IMF, which can bring them onto a reality show. And maybe, just maybe, the finale of the reality show sees them unwittingly taking part in the finale of the scripted show. Because once they've won the competition, they do a final mission that's actually scripted into the anthology. Guys, we're talking high-level stuff here. We know Zaslav is going to love this. I mean,
I forgot about some of that.
Yeah. No, the one thing I will say is we covered so much ground in this pitch, and I don't think it's a particularly long episode, but like I think maybe, I forget how early in the pitch we just came up with like the big idea that we built everything around, but it's like we were just throwing out idea after idea and they all kind of clicked. Like there was a little bit of magic happening in this episode.
Well, just real quick, I think there's this. I think people who watch the show a lot I've read a lot of the comments, and it seems like they say things sometimes like, "Oh, there are episodes where it takes them a whole long time to get it and to build it, and then finally it clicks towards the end." And then there's some where they kind of get the idea in the middle and they start building. And there's episodes where they get it pretty soon, and the rest of it is pitching ideas and building and building. And some people like those almost like the best. We can't do it all the time because that doesn't always happen. And if we force that, then we're just building and building and building on top of a framework that sucks. But if we find, some iron rebar and a bunch of bricks and stuff early in the construction mission, we could really get a stew going for the rest of its running time. And I think this is emblematic of that sort of episode.
I also think this was baby steps into what would eventually be our Pokemon pitch, which was, why do we keep limiting ourselves to it either has to be like a prestige TV show or it has to be a movie? It's like, I think it might have been you, Bill, who were like even going to stop this before we started. You're like, anything is on the table. And I think we dabbled with that reality show aspect for a little bit. And it wasn't until kind of later that we're like, I don't think that's the show. I think that's like a cool multimedia tie-in on top of it. But I think it did kind of inform the rest of the pitch. And yeah, I would love it too if we came up with gold in the first 15 minutes and had, the next 90 to just kind of play in the sandbox. But that's not the creative process at all. For one Mission Impossible, you get 5 night writers, and you just kind of have to get through it,
Or Ace Ventura: Pet Detective, because Ace Ventura was kind of like that. We were like, we think we want to do this, and then we threw out a bazillion stupid ideas.
No. I think Ace Ventura is actually a great mirror opposite of this exact thing, which is, we had so much fun pitching ideas that were making us laugh, but we had zero framework. We were just, throwing it out. Yep. This was structured. The other one was it was a jam with 4 very talented musicians, but we did not come up with a hit single, you know?
That's actually, I had not thought about that, but I think you are dead on. Is like,
You're right.
the creative process is very similar in both of those episodes. It's just in this one we had something to hang everything on, and in the Ventura pitch we did not.
Because we did it backwards. We were trying to come up with the framework to all these great gags, as opposed to the other way around, where we kept thinking of scenarios on top of this. Yeah, I think honestly, if you're any sort of like writing student or just interested in this stuff, like this would be a great 1-2 to watch back to back to just see, you know, the creative process can be so, you know, finicky.
It's a harsh mistress for sure.
So everyone seems to agree that we did pretty good on this one. Anybody have any issues with it, or do you think we nailed it?
I do have to give. Oh, go ahead. But I was just going to give you credit real quick and say that I think I've mentioned this before, but my favorite visual gag in the entire run of our show was, I don't remember whose idea it was, but to bring back John Peters for one episode, but then reveal at the end that it's David Zaslav in a mask.
It's because, dun dun dun, it was actually me the whole time, David Zaslav.
And it is the funniest sight gag that we ever have done, probably ever will do.
Oh, I appreciate. I worked hard on that. It's a crude little animation, but there's something so funny about it. I agree.
It's like that South
hilarious.
Park style of animation,
Yes.
which just makes it so funny.
Yep.
I was going to say, I think that this was one where, despite how well the pitch came together, I do think we never quite surmounted the David Zaslav, or I guess in this case, John Peters / David Zaslav suggestion or demand, where Mickey Rourke and Barbara Streisand in steamy love scenes is hilarious, but was so far afield from what we were doing. we really put the legwork into trying to make it work, and like working in the idea of like, who are these people and what are they, you know, how does it play into the larger overarching structure? But I sort of feel like it both brings the pitch down, and also we might have convinced ourselves that we worked it in better than we actually did.
Which, by the way, going through a ton of old rebooted episodes, not the first time those two have popped up as a John Peters suggestion. It definitely was one of his greatest hits, spider type things, where he's like, I want to get that in multiple pitches that you guys do. Because I remember listening to something, I was like, Mickey Rourke, didn't we just do? Oh shit, this is like 4 years old, and we did it again. But no, I think we did the best we could with it, right? I do think, like, as dumb as it sounds on paper, I do think that there is something interesting about like this older couple and how they could relate to this bigger mystery conspiracy, and then at the end having Mickey Rourke actually be the one that kind of set all of this up in motion just to test everybody. Like, I think that still fits within the kind of world that we built. It just sounds ridiculous on paper, you know?
Yeah. But also, you know, we just recently did Excalibur and talked about, you know, your wish fulfillment of sweet, hot face X. Well, hey, there's old people and they fuck and they want to be excited about it. So there we go.
They want to be excited about it.
I don't know if we can talk about that, but we can try.
Oh my god, that was the funniest thing I ever heard. Dude, Ron, thank you for that, bro. Wow, you really made my day. For me, I gotta take your point though. Yeah, oldsters banging. Yeah, normalize it straight up. I was watching Heat one day, and when Al Pacino is hella close up, making out with that probably 48-year-old woman, I heard an audible gasp from the crowd. But it was like, like nobody wants to see that, and it's like, so this cokehead cop that saves the city can't make out with his wife in the morning and make use of that early erection the older guys have to rely on? Come on. What are we talking about here?
Yeah.
Why are you denying that? That's so brutal and ageist. So yeah, I accept your point, Ron.
Yeah, anytime you get grossed out by old people making out, remember, you are going to be an old person making out.
Maybe, I don't know.
Don't remind me of that. Come on.
See, these are the non-mortality boys up here. The no mortality boys or the Highlanders.
Hey, listen, I'm just ageist. That's I'll own it. I'll
just own it. No, but sincerely, yes, I agree with Bill, though, just to wrap this point up. I agree with Bill that we didn't quite work it into the pitch as good as we maybe thought we did. I agree with Billy that we did what we could with it, and the fact that they were in there, and the fact that we did kind of turn it on one of those older actors. And frankly, I don't want to make this joke, but everybody knows Mickey Rourke low-key looks messed up. He was a soldier of fortune. He got in a billion fights. He's a raw ass dude. This is maybe the first thing since Marv from Sin City that actually would work with how he looks. Like, he looks like somebody who's lived. Ethan Hunt would look like Mickey Rourke after all that shit. So let's make use of that.
I also just feel like, this season, and we weren't the best sometimes at taking those studio notes, and actually implementing them. I think there's a handful of episodes where we're like, oh yeah, sure, fine, and then just completely went on with our day, and it didn't matter. I feel like this is one of the ones where we genuinely did make an effort to implement.
We tried.
So yeah. So I'll give us at least credit for that.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Do you guys remember who decided to bring back John Peters? Why did we decide to do that?
So I liked the idea of John Peters just randomly showing back up just for a smidge of continuity with the old show. And I don't think it was me, but somebody, when we were talking about it, I think it was like on the day of doing this, and someone was like, oh, we should do it. And it was probably Billy, like, we should do it, but then at the end, we should reveal that he was in disguise, like in Mission Impossible, and it was actually Zaslav the whole time. And I think we just all loved that idea. But I think it was also my frustration at not really getting the voice and character of Zaslav down, because this was like halfway through the season, and I was very aware, and we had been making jokes about it off air too, about how like Zaslav's voice was ever changing, and you couldn't quite pin him down. So I kind of just wanted to go back to the comfort zone of good old JP.
But this was the birth of, I would say this is the birth of the Peter Griffin Zaslav, which would end up being the voice of it. But this is like the first instance of it, and I love because it's like, it was me, David Zaslav, the entire time. Just like the exuberance in the voice just makes me laugh like how giddy that character is to have like pulled one off on the boys. Like, it's just so funny.
It also I think it was a good delineation of his character, because John Peters just lives, our version of John Peters just lives in my head, and like I just know what that guy would say in any given situation. And turning David Zaslav into a guy who's so pleased at how well he's doing with everything, even as it's a nightmare, was a nice crystallization of like, okay, I get who that guy is,
Yeah.
Awesome. That's so funny. And of course, as usual, we got some great comments, so let's get into them. We got Landon Fields, 4165. I've been a fan of you guys from the beginning, just catching up on these new episodes. This is one of your best pitches to date. I would watch this in a heartbeat. I'm tempted to try writing the pilot just for kicks, LOL, to which Billy replied, do it and send it to us.
Man, if anyone ever takes one of our pitches and does, I'm talking like fan art or a poster, or even just like, hey, I wrote a scene based on something you guys pitched, like, please get that to us. Like, we will not eviscerate you. We're flattered, we're humbled. We just want to see what it would look like and what you guys would interpret our thoughts as. But like, I can't give a bigger encouragement to like if you do write that pilot, write it. Like, we will read it. You know, we won't tear you apart. We're curious to see what your interpretation of it is.
Yeah, didn't we have people doing fan posters at one point?
Back in the day, we did, yeah.
Yeah, so you want to do some art for us? Send it to us. We'll check it out. You could do email at the email thegreatestpod@gmail.com, or you can just send it on our socials, and we'll check it out. And we appreciate that stuff, by the way. Like it's great that you guys are getting involved, and one of the things we like about this show is that I mean, personally, I like about this show, and I think everybody agrees, is that I feel like we inspire people to get creative. Because this inspires us to get creative. Like a lot of the storytelling and ideas that I get from different things or from jokes that I get is from you guys, like chatting these stories, making up these ideas, coming up and collaborating, like really pushes me forward in my regular life too. So,
and the thing about the rewinds is we try to pull comments too that like are great. There's some great suggestions in a lot of these comments. That's like, the four of us are not above anyone watching the show. Like, you are just as creative as us. Like, get in there, do your thing too. It doesn't have to be just the four of us entertaining you. You're just as creative as us, you know. Maybe not Bill, but there's creatives as the rest of the three of us.
That's not what I was going to say. I was going to say that I think, one of the things we've been talking about is just to do some rebranding on the show. And one of the taglines that I came up with for the show was the Writer's Room Ride Along. And if you subscribe to us on any of the podcast catchers, that is part of our thumbnail there. And I would love to see that become more actualized. Like, I think that really the audience for this show is just people who are interested in the creative process as much as they're interested in any character or franchise that we're talking about. And so, yeah, anybody who wants to join the fun, like, I love to see it. And we certainly would never discourage you from writing a spec pilot based on something that we came up with. Just, don't sell it and cut us out of it, because then we'll sue the hell out of you.
Yeah, 100%.
somebody, they're right about to be announced in Variety, and they're like, oh crap, and they're rushed to their computer and they're desperately trying to remove comments from Reboot It. Like, no, I never knew you. I never heard of it.
Exactly.
That's awesome. So we got another comment from Izhan 3814. To add a suggestion for someone I think would be great for the Brain Trust, Jeremy Carver. He was the showrunner for one of my favorite superhero shows, Doom Patrol. It's great at character dynamics, and I think he'd be great for handling any found family stuff if you'd want to explore that route at any point, since this would be all about teams. He's also working on the upcoming Amanda Waller show. Not sure if that project is actually still going to happen, but that is also likely another spy agency-centered series.
That's one thing we haven't mentioned yet, but I think instead of a showrunner, we came up with like this collective of creatives in Hollywood, and it's like it was, kind of like a writer's room essentially for the entire franchise, where there wasn't kind of one person shepherding everything. I know we talked about like Nathan Fielder was part of it. I can't remember some of the other ones, but it was all just like, who are the best minds that could contribute to either the show or the movies or anything else going on, which was just another thing that I thought was cool, because sometimes we just bang our heads against the wall about like who could direct this. And this was like, oh man, if anyone has any sensibilities that's even close to what we're talking about, throw them in the collective,
Yeah. You were the one who suggested Nathan Fielder, Billy, and I thought that was awesome. And that kind of opened my mind going into future episodes about like, oh yeah, we got to do more stuff like that, where you take somebody who maybe feels like a left field choice, but would be so simpatico with the material that we pitched that like even just getting that person to work on it would be a little bit of a coup creatively. I mean, I thought was one of the master strokes of this whole season of Reboot It, is that idea of like, what if you gave Nathan Fielder the world's weirdest spy show? I was like, yeah, sign me up for that.
I've not seen Doom Patrol, so I can't comment on this exact person, but I mean, yeah, if they have those sensibility, I know people really love that show and the characterizations. Like, I think anybody that could work, someone like a Nathan Fielder, I see being like the architect of like, here's the incredibly minutia, the detailed oriented stuff that makes it all flow together. But then you also need, I hate to say this, kind of the more human elements of like someone who understands the ensemble and like how these characters interact as people. So that's why I don't feel like one size fits all. But like, yeah, if Jeremy Carver fits the bill, like of course, like throw him in the trust.
And I think there's an important thing he left out. He also worked on Supernatural.
Oh, never mind. DQ.
Fire him.
Yep. DQ.
Just to go on a little bit of a tangent to fire some people up in the comments, I did watch some of that Doom Patrol show, and like people got so hyped on it. It felt very CW to me. Like it felt, I don't know. It was very middle of the road. But all right.
You mean great?
Sure.
I mean, Titans kind of was too. It was like that weird, like DC was like, we want to be a studio streaming service, but it was just, like it was bizarre. That was a bizarre time. It was like that, Doom Patrol, and I think the Harley Quinn one was the only one that kind of like lived on past whatever happened to that DC thing.
Yeah. I liked Doom Patrol, but it didn't do well, and Titans didn't do well at either as well. So,
but both of those shows got like 3 or 4 seasons. It's kind of
they did, yeah.
It's just also just we need to also understand that like do well means nothing in streaming. It's all about buzz and whoever got the most buzz and blah blah. And oftentimes things that are good will get a lot of buzz. To Bill's point, I don't really know why Doom Patrol got the extreme buzz that I saw earlier. I watched some episodes. Brendan Fraser was a delight. I'm out though. Little cyborg comes in and he's cool, but the stretchy lady, I'm out. I can't be here anymore. You know what I mean? Like it was okay, but
the
so
bad guy's played by Tudyk. So
what
if I remember correctly, isn't the bad guy?
Alan Tudyk, yes.
Oh,
is the voice of the bad guy. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm a sucker for Alan Tudyk shit. Like I don't know what
somebody
he does.
Clip that out. Somebody clip that out.
I will say I do think that show was essentially made for you, Ron. Like,
yeah,
because they really went all in on like, oh, you like Joss Whedon shit? Oh, you like Supernatural? Oh, you like CW drama? Like, let's throw that all into this goddamn show.
All I remember is the sensationalism of like, I guess there was like an orgasm scene that everyone was talking. It was like a big deal when it came out. I don't know if it's what the context was. In the same way that like when I think of Titans, the only thing I think of is fuck Batman. That was like the big hook.
Yeah.
And then I never heard anything past just that,
Okay, real quick. I don't want to hijack this episode. Give me 10 seconds. I hate that weird period where DC was pretending to be tough. I just stop it. Like they had a bunch of shows where they were pretend tough and pretend throwing away the old garments of worshiping those old characters. And then they just went right back to S and that Bat D and throwing Superman in everybody's face, blah, blah. Peacemaker's the last remnant of that fake DC tough era. I just wanted to talk about that because that was real to me.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that whole era felt a little bit like DC's 90s comics, where it's like, we're going to kill people and bring people back as the extreme version of themselves and yada, yada, yada. And it's just, better left in the trash bin.
I felt like Doom Patrol tried really hard to be weird, if nothing else. But I will say that it was a try hard in that scope of it. Well, it really was trying. Like I'm going to be as weird as possible,
Right. It felt like a bunch of normies doing their best to make a weird show, as opposed to just being a weird show.
Sure, agreed. But still like Jeremy Carver, and I support you here. So. We got hello, Mr. Jamwa. He said, in many ways, this setup for MI is the spy version of Hellraiser, except Pinhead doesn't give you the choice.
I mean, someone brought up Cenobites earlier, so
Yeah.
it's definitely on the brain.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which I agree with Ed, a very astute observation. And, Hellraiser, I think, is a template, a prototype, a format that you could be adapted in many different ways and perhaps should be. So,
Yeah, great comment. We'll just leave it at that. The next one, I think this is one we kind of answered, but I think we can also add a little bit more to it. This is giving me big Mr. and Mrs. Smith vibes, the Amazon show. Soy Our Boy 27 said that. And Billy put an important note, and I think this is we also got comments about this having similarity
You got it.
apparently having similarities
Yes.
to Alias and Leverage. And I think whenever you do any spy show, you're gonna have some similarities for sure. So
I don't know if I see Alias, but Leverage, I see the similarities. I'll just say that Mr. and Mrs. Smith Amazon show is really good and really worth your time, and I think was underrated. Should have been talked about more. And I think it did some really interesting stuff that broke some TV molds. I take that as a compliment because I know that the substance of our pitch isn't as similar ultimately in execution as it feels. But yeah, the setup is similar. And I think that's a good thing. So
I also think, real quick, I think people are keying on the fact that some of the early missions that they didn't really even know what they were doing. Like they deliver a cake with explosive results. They do a lot of stuff where it's just like it isn't necessarily spy. It doesn't seem like spycraft for most of the episode. And then certain aspects of spycraft are the only way that they got that done, though. Like a regular person tasked with that would probably mess it up because they wouldn't run 14 blocks in 15 seconds or whatever, like Homeboy did, and then he had an asthma attack because he's not a real spy. You know what I mean? I love all of the stuff that they acquiesce to the characters' physical and mental weaknesses and foibles and stuff, and that's why they were together to like make up for each other's weaknesses or something. They were paired like in an intelligent way, supposedly. All that's really cool. But again, we're talking about like, yeah, a different animal with our stuff. And over the course of time, maybe certain characters would evolve and have relationships and be part of teams and stuff. But for the most part, what's the Tyler Durden in Fight Club talks about that single serving friends. We're doing a show about single serving friends. At that time that you had to spend 8 hours at Tahoe and you and that guy moved the vending machine. And then when you rocked it, all the food came out and you and the people that were trapped at the airport got to eat for free. And you guys became a clan for that time. That type of adventure, but with spy stuff, like Breakfast Club almost with spy stuff. There's something magical about that is not there in a marriage relationship, or that fake or not, or a fake family like in everything. What's that? Homeland, fake family like in Homeland. That's cool.
And I'd point out that there's a lot of choice in what we have. Like, sure, these guys made a choice at the beginning, but after that, they just have to do the work they're told to do. And if they do it wrong, they'll get murdered, which is cool and is a great show. Like, because I agree that show was amazing. And thank you for the comparison. But I do think that the difference is all of our characters, one had to choose to download this app, had to go through the puzzles, then they have to say yes to the mission, the mission itself. Like there's so much choice for all of the characters in this that I think it just kind of changes the dynamic because of that. So
yeah. And the anthology format gives you more playing field to explore pseudo spycraft in this way, like or again, things that aren't a spy would. To Bill's point, a spy would never be able to do these missions. A spy would mess this up. You know what I mean? Or maybe the people who watch out for spies would see instantly that guy's a spy. Look how he walks. He's got a Beretta in his left hip and all that kind of jazz. And look at his haircut. Look how he leans. All that stuff with your dumb wonky ass coming down the road looking like like Where's Waldo or something. They wouldn't spot you. You'd get close enough to do anything you wanted because you'd be invisible to them because you don't have any tradecraft. These are the things we're trying to take into consideration with our anthology format.
Yeah, I mean, I think that ultimately this show could maybe be described as Amazon's Mr. and Mrs. Smith meets Black Mirror meets something like Munich the Steven Spielberg movie, where it is about like completely, you know, disavowed, not getting any sort of spycraft backup, like you're just out in the world, or even Ronin, the Robert De Niro movie, right? Like, what does spycraft look like when you're not James Bond, when you're not part of the CIA, when you don't have a drone, you know, 30,000 feet up watching everything you do. So yeah, I think it would have its own flavor ultimately. And yeah.
Oh, and another thing I didn't get to mention before we get to the next comment, and I've been thinking about it, is I really enjoy the idea of what we could do with actors for this, right? I think you could pull off some really cool big time guests for these shows. And you know, some great character actors, you know, maybe some DJ Qualls in there. You know what I mean? Like I'm just saying, like there's just this opportunity to pull from big stars to small stars to just recognizable, interesting characters that you can bring in. And I think a lot of actors would love the idea of being like, hey, I'm gonna be in the next Mission Impossible. I'm gonna be one of the characters from that episode. You know what I mean? And like really dig that. And it'd be an interesting challenge because now they got to do something different from what they maybe do. Like, you know, like George Clooney comes and does it and he's a fucking plumber in it. You know what I mean? Like that's the type of thing that I think this like would give to actors as well. So I was just something I was thinking about and wanted to mention before we went on to the next comment.
Love to shout out to our boy Qualls, by the way.
A plumber is such a great profession to pull into an episode. Like having had my pipes redone and seeing how they snake those cameras through like down, you know, all across the house and the pipes. Like there's so many cool things that you could do. Oh, this is such a great pitch. Go ahead. Next comment.
Seriously. So we got Dracoon. The one question I don't think was answered, or I might have just missed it as I was playing Expedition 33 at the same time. Cat emoji. But is there a reward for completing a mission? I mean, if no one believes you did the mission and it's very anonymous, what is the reason a person would accept? To which Ed replied, I think the psychological profile stuff is meant to find people for whom money isn't the point. They've got some level of expertise and success, but their status quo doesn't meet their ego's requirements, which is why they reach out to the app. The brilliance of IMF software or the leadership, etc., is finding people who want the adventure regardless of what they make or what it costs.
But to that end, I also think like there's a dramatic character arc for somebody who absolutely finishes the thing. It's like, that's it, where I don't get anything. Like, you know, so no, we didn't do it because I do think like everyone has a different motivation. I do think some people are just like, I want more out of life. And what is this mysterious thing? I think some people do it out of sheer just being naive. And I think we get characters that get into a mission and be like, wait, this isn't, I don't want to do this. Like, I just thought this was something else. And then you probably do get a guy that's just like, what the hell? Like, and I think there's a great commentary. I'm like, why did I risk my life for peanuts or nothing? You know, like this was all for nothing. And, you know, kind of go ahead. Yeah.
Well, it also adds like some more character for later, right? So like, let's take our plumber guy. He never thought of doing anything spycraft with his plumbing equipment, right? Well, now he learns how to do this and it opens up a new window in his mind. He runs into some economic trouble and he's like, okay, well, I know the pipes in this bank. I know how to steal from this vault. And he decides he's going to rob a bank. And that becomes part of, you know, the new episode. And he pushes himself this way, but it's like, because the Mission Impossible happened, now he has this other skill that makes him think in a different way. And I think that's one of the cool parts about this.
I mean, the cool part is it's designed that no one should have the same reaction, right? And we get so many characters that can have different reasons for doing it and different feelings being in it and different feelings being out of it. So I think Ed's response is 1,000% right for some characters, and I think for some characters it 1,000% is like, I thought I was going to get something out of this. That's what makes this so cool. Like it's literally malleable enough that it can be anything and everything.
I think ultimately the IMF software, to use Ed's parlance, is a stand-in for Reddit. Why do you become a Reddit power user, right? You're not going to make any money doing it. Some people maybe want connection. Some people maybe want to feel powerful. Some people are going to maybe end up becoming school shooters because of it. You know what I mean? Like that is literally what we're exploring. Why do you do that when it's not just as clean cut as like, I want money? Like what would draw people into solving complex puzzles and putting themselves on a list to theoretically, they don't even know for sure, but to theoretically someday do a spy mission? Who are those people and why would they do it is the heart of the show.
And I can't remember, but didn't we make it complicated to find the app? Like, didn't you have to do something to get the app? Am I remembering that correctly?
You had to be an intelligent to even apply. You have to be intelligent to go through the application process. You got to be intelligent to be screened. You got to be intelligent, all this, or at least skilled. And I think that's one thing that we maybe didn't parse out. But the skills, like finding, again, that's the genius of the software or the people or whatever, is to be able to find these people using these algorithms, because everybody's on the internet all day. And they all somehow know that I like comfortable sneakers because I'm an old fat man. So why wouldn't they know that I know intense mathematic theorems or that I'm the world's best plumber or whatever? Why wouldn't they? It doesn't, you know what I'm saying? So that all that being the case, my only thing I had to say about this part of it is I liked the fact that when we are doing this jazz with the disparate group and all that stuff, that it's not just about putting them in this some kind of danger or what it costs or blah blah. To me, it was just about I think what people like about it is this is the low part of tradecraft. This isn't jumping out of buildings and stuff. This is stuff that everybody could do. This is stuff that everybody contributes to. That's why they see it as Mr. and Mrs. Smith or leverage or stuff. And I do, to go back to that comment, just see that as a badge of honor for our thing. Because we weren't trying to get nutso. We were trying to get like, let's see the adventure of the adventures that regular people can have and how they impact on them. That's the juice. That's the entire.
And I think I don't know if we like pitched an episode, but I thought we had a discussion where it was like someone does something in the mission and it's just as simple as like go buy a gallon of milk at the store and come back. And they're like, that's it. And it wasn't. And then like months later, people are trying to kill them for it. And they're like, what? You know, like, I think that was kind of the fun of it too, is like not every mission that someone does or their part in that mission makes sense to them. And it may not even seem dangerous at the moment, you know?
Right. Oh, and real quick, I got less on my own mind earlier. The scam aspect. Everybody, you can't, there's a bromide. You can't cheat an honest man. I remember I was at a gas station. My mom bought a gold chain from a dude at a gas station. She was stupid to think she could get a gold chain from a gas station. You cannot cheat an honest man. A real honest man will not think that they can get a Cartier watch for super cheap. You understand what I'm saying? So like these people who feel like they can get the entirety of the spy experience, the entirety of whatever in this one go, they're already falling for a scam. And we all do all the time. You know what I'm saying? I'm getting messages on my phone from like, hey, when are you going to arrive? Never, robot bitch, get off my phone. That new goofy scam they're trying to run. You know what I mean? So it's like we're in a world and inundated with that. So these are just the highest level of the people who can get scammed by this shit. We make the software or the people make them prove that they're so smart that they can be scammed, and everybody falls for it. There's episodes of Poker Face and all of David Mamet's oeuvre about scams. There's that thing in you when you see some guy come in with $20,000 and several people come to meet him, and you just get to talking to him, and he says, you know, you can make $20,000 too, but I need 5 from you. If you could get it real quick, I would include you in this new deal. Why would you ever fall for that? Because fuck, man, I'm living. I want to live.
You need something. Yeah,
you need something, and that's where the scamology comes. So we're scamming the top level people in the country with this thing. So wait, basically,
Ed, you're telling me all of those wrong numbers that were like 100 hot Asian ladies, they're not Interesting.
They're all
Well,
me. I'm selling your your dad at a Dick Pill Incorporated.
Oh no. I was gonna say, no, Ron, that's real for you, but for the rest of us, yeah.
Ooh, okay. Oh,
Yeah.
thank God. All right.
Hot
clear
Anime
then.
Babe 6969 devil sign likes
Now
you.
this next
She really
comment
does.
is a okay, perfect. That's what I like to hear, and my wife likes to hear too. You know, this next comment is long, and we may have hit points on it anyways, but I still want to get it out because we appreciate these comments, even if we sometimes disagree with them a little bit. But let's hit it. We got Jesse C. He said, this one took a little bit for me to get into, but I came around to it eventually. I guess at first, a lot of the pitch just didn't make sense to me. I thought the idea of the IMF running off an app that was too silly, was way too silly and didn't make a lot of sense given that every time Ethan gets the mission, the message ends up self-destructing. So why would the app just delete off the phone, or would the phone self-destruct? I think the idea of it being an app kind of takes away from the mysticism of Ethan Hunt getting his message off a random payphone or through a vinyl player. I always like the creativity from the movies. The idea of it being random people off the streets, I wasn't so sure about either. I figured there should be strong qualifications if they're being chosen for these deadly mission impossibles. That aspect of the pitch kind of felt like Squid Games to me. If some guy who thinks this is all a reality TV show gets slimed out in the first episode, wouldn't that death have serious consequences for whatever organization is running the app? Or I guess maybe that the plot thread could be explored within the show. Critical thoughts aside, I really appreciated how out of the box you guys went with it, and made for a really fun and interesting conversation as always. Thanks for another great episode.
See, I always thought, and this is just me, like, yes, it's very cool that Ethan goes to this record store, says the secret thing, gets the record, plays it and everything, but I'm just like, okay, but someone had to explain to him at some point that that's what you had to do. When they explain to him, just give him the mission. I feel like you're adding more steps to the thing.
Right.
Just give him the damn mission when you're explaining to him how to get the damn mission. Like, I get it.
Right.
It looks really cool for something to blow up or whatever. Like, I don't think, first of all, I think we talked about this in our pitch and then kind of made sure that I don't think that the IMF app is something that you can go to the App Store and just Google and download.
Correct.
I think like you are sent an anonymous message with a QR code, whatever. And I do think that the app deletes itself once you are done with your mission, which is probably maddening for a lot of people because there's no proof or whatever it is. But as to the second part of the comment, I think maybe I don't want to say you didn't understand our pitch. I don't think that's right. But I think we did kind of make it very clear why they choose the people. We're not looking for assassins. We're not looking for people that can run a 5-minute mile. We are looking for a watchmaker, which is an incredibly specific set of skills that Ethan Hunt would not do in his normal mission training. But for this mission, you need that thing. I think it was very deliberate, the type of people that we were going after. So I don't get the Squid Game comparison there. I don't think it's 1-to-1.
See, I think this is an interesting comment because it speaks to a meta problem that maybe we don't pay enough attention to on our show, but I know is a problem for studios, which is if you change the central concept too much from what people know, they just walk into it confused. Because I read this comment as someone who is just caught up on, no, Mission Impossible is about a secret spy agency that does deadly missions to save the world and is led by a guy named Ethan Hunt. And you're telling me none of that's the case? And yes, we are telling you none of that's the case, but we have to get your buy-in that like Mission Impossible can be something other than that. And it just feels like whether you were not paying enough attention or whether we were not clear enough, somewhere where those two things met, you didn't realize that we were saying, no, Mission Impossible is not Ethan Hunt and a team of elite, special ops doing deadly missions to save the world. That's not what we're pitching. So It's an interesting problem because it's like I think we assume often that like, no. If we go really out of the box with this, an audience would be excited because we would be if we were the audience. I think to a man between the four of us, but I don't know if that's always true. And I think that a lot of those kind of hack studio notes come from studio executives who have the data that like, hey man, if you push this too far outside of the core concept, like people are going to be pissed at you. So I don't. Maybe that's just what this comment illustrates.
That's a great point. We do
It
not
is.
cater to the common moviegoer a lot of times in our pitch, and then I
And
feel like
also-
I feel like we get beat up when I will say I feel like I get beat up when I try to bring that up every now and again, where I'm just like the average person's not gonna go for this, but okay.
Well, but that's I think the problem people have, and trust me, I don't ride for the average man, but I think the average man exists, and the average man doesn't think themselves as average because we're all beautiful snowflakes and all that jazz. So like when it's parsed that way, like the average moviegoer, I think people get mad because a lot of us encompass the average of X fandom. You know what I'm saying? A lot of us are the average of Marvel fandom, but not the average of Star Trek fandom, but below average of some fantasy stuff. That would describe me instantly. So I think in this milieu, it is difficult for us to discern when we are making He-Man about a ski instructor in the 80s on Mars who has to learn how to break dance to defeat Skeletor at the big dance, right? If we did that, a lot of people don't know the difference between that and the He-Man pitch that we did, where we examined the cartoon world of it and stripped away some of the mythology and blah blah and inserted our own mythology and made Hordak more deadly. I took him from the She-Ra universe. Da, 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 da. All that stuff that we did was so different than how everybody wanted us to do He-Man. But making him a ski instructor in the 80s and what we did are totally separate from each other, but they are far afield. For some eyes, it's hard to discern which one that is. So like I would just want to make sure that we do understand how people could be like, I mean, there's times where I say that's not Punisher or that's not Daredevil or whatever, and everybody else is clapping their Cheeto stained forearms together. Doug Stanhope quote, loving it. Yeah, Cheetos and Mountain Dew raining down while they watch these awful depictions of some of my favorite things. But 80% of people can't be wrong, right? Why am I going to spend my life headbutting the fucking floor like Jubei and Ninja Scroll to be mad at everybody for liking stuff or not having my perception of that was too different? We all
But
got
that's the futility of what we do anyway, right? How many times have the four of us banged our heads on the floor because it's like, well, now it's not XYZ thing. It's like, well, if you want it to be that franchise, all we can do is just remake it with new technology. Like
right.
That's where like the fine line of this entire show and thought process of reboots lies, which is like, where's that line where you went too far? It sounds like maybe for this commenter, we found it for him on this, whereas we don't feel that way. So it's always going to be,
Although he did say good episode at the end, and he liked where we got.
I'm not bagging on this guy at all. Like,
no, I know
that's
you're not.
How he feels, that's 100% valid. I think probably a lot of people would feel the same way if we trotted this out. The same way that you felt about Eternals, right? Like that, it just didn't feel. It was we rewrote what Eternals meant, and it didn't click. So I think we all have a line where we went too far, but all of our lines are so different of where it is that it's just, sometimes you hit, sometimes you don't. And but can you do?
And just as a real quick wrap up about that whole point, we are open to doing reboots in name only. A lot of people are not. They hate it. Like, why are you going to call it Terminator if it's just about a bunch of lizards in the desert? Well, Terminator is about lizards now, dude. Like, what do you? That's what we're
these
doing.
Lizards, they terminate people. I don't understand. What do we do?
We're open to that. Most people are
because
not.
we are fine with rebooting plot and keeping the story, right? If the story is about humanity and blah 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 blah, but we put it to lizards, to us that still feels like we're hitting the core of it, but to a lot of people, it's not.
Well, and like one of our first episodes was Back to the Future, And I feel like we did some weird shit with that Back to the Future, but what we did was we were like, well, this is about generational uh trauma and family stuff, and we rolled with that and just twisted it and put it on its head. And that was technically a reboot, but it was still like it was still coming from a base of like, here's what we think this is about. Here's how we're going to tell that story, just in a different way.
I don't think Mission Impossible is really about anything, to be honest. Like, you can say it's about the group or putting your friend, sure, fine, okay. But really, I think like it does hinge on the concept, like to your point, Bill, of the super spies. And when we're saying no, not this one, we might have a hard time with it. This might be one, we talk about this all the time, where it's like, we might want to do this ourselves and just remove any trace of IP out of this one, and it could be its own thing and be very successful, I feel like.
And there ain't nothing wrong with that.
Nope.
Yep.
Well, and we're going to talk about a comment that we banned, but I feel like we should address it and why we did ban it. We have blacked out their username as we don't feel like we should be giving them any sort of free publicity. Here's the comment. No reboots of anything for at least 10 years, please. We need some original shit with some talented writers. Plus, we need to give DEI and wokeism time to fade out. So when something gets rebooted, it will be made with merit and quality instead of ideology and equity.
Oh, no.
Oh,
oh no. Come on.
Who wants to start?
I mean, I like at this point, how do you not just laugh at that? And like that, this is an illustration of like the two Americas that we're living in. Because like, what the fuck are you talking about, man? Like you don't even know what let wokeism and DEI fade means. Like, come on, what are you talking about?
Especially in the context of Mission Impossible, there's one black person in this group who was with them from the first movie, like one of the only ones in the original. They can only afford one woman at a time on that team. They have to kill off one in order to bring in another one. So of all franchises, be like, no woke, no DEI. It's like, but this franchise doesn't have any.
But hold on. I also don't want us, like, we're not ignorant. We know what you mean. We know that you're saying that every time they reboot a franchise, they got to figure out ways to put more minorities in it. And it always has to have a message that's about, like, how diversity is good and, you know, women are powerful, or it's good to have other cultures. And, like, that sucks. And, like... is that not what you mean? Is that not what you mean?
That's what that guy means. Well, and also 100%. let's point out another thing. He came to the Reboot It channel to tell us not to reboot things. Like, why'd you show up here in the first place and click on the reboot thing if you didn't want any reboots? You're just trolling.
That guy's a critical drinker follower who got us shoved into his algorithm somehow and just wanted to make his dumb ideas known. That's all that was.
And here's the crazy part. Like, you had one thing that maybe is correct. We do need some original shit from talented writers. We would all love that. But reboots are going to get made. And the whole point of this is that the conceit of the show is that we're the best at it. We're going to reboot it and we're going to make it great. And I think that's what we do. And I also want to point out, this guy ends this with one of the stupidest statements. It will be made with merit and quality instead of ideology and equity. Let me tell you something about the word equity. That means quality. That means ideology. Like it means quality and it means merit, because equity means that whoever is good does the thing. And we have DI. What is I'm sorry that I'm yelling, but diversity, inclusion, and equity are not bad words. They are good words. And of course, we're going to include anybody who's great. And we don't care if they're a white guy or a black trans woman or a gay Latino dude. We don't give a shit as long as they make cool stuff. I mean, now 3 white dudes have yelled. Ed?
I was gonna let the white boys handle the light work because honestly, obviously, everything you guys just said is right, whatever. It's definitely what people say in public. So yay for everybody.
Yeah.
But the thing that I don't like about this jazz is like the intonation that because let me tell you something, Mean Gene. Diversity and equity and blah 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 isn't killing it. The death of the movie star is killing it. There are no more Tom Cruises, dumbass. So when they decide to make something like this, it will have a lot of diversity in it because it's going to take 5 mother blankers to take the place of Tom Cruise. And you could say that's because he's a white icon and he's so awesome. Or you could say that we haven't put $50 million a year into making people movie stars anymore. The way that we had all those press junkets and all that stuff that Tom Cruise supped off of, including the Scientology jazz, to make his star be this bright. That the old media world that made a star as big as Tom Cruise is literally gone. So it isn't just diversity and equity and blah, blah, blah. It's the fact that it takes 5 people, usually different colors, like a Benetton ad, to equal up to one of these old school movie stars. They're over. That economy is over. So fine, you're going to see some, and this, I think he's intoning that because we're going to cast all these disparate people that they have to be super diverse. And that would be like the only reason why we wanted to do an anthology is to throw diverse people in there, which is obviously ridiculous.
I don't think this guy watched the episode. I mean,
I bet that's true. But just to respond to the last thing I would say is about the reboot it, don't reboot anything. Like, I'm getting really sick of that, dude. Because as much as we want original things, you losers don't leave your house for original things. You don't. You, whoever I'm talking to, you don't. When you talk to people about movies, you talk about the new Marvel, like you're that asshole from that Tim Robbins movie. That's how you, person I'm talking to, talk about movies most of the time. And if you're some letterbox freak, excuse yourself from my rant. But if you're not, and you're not watching 10 foreign films and doing all this different jazz, if you're being served the same slop that everybody is, and you ended up at Barbenheimer because it was the thing to do and it was an event, then you're normal. And you perceive films in a normal way. And you don't give things that are original that much shrift. So shut up with that shit. Go vote with your dollar and go watch, Weapons before the buzz. Watch Weapons. If Weapons had no buzz, would you have found yourself at that? No. If you're the type of person who wants to be the type of person who would have seen Weapons, whether it got buzz or not, whether everybody started blowing it or not, be that person and go do that. But this person, like you said, I'm not talking to him. He doesn't get it. I get all that, but like there are people who put that originality thing in there, and the devil always put a little bit of truth in this too. So it's true we need originals, but the reason why we're not getting them is not because of diversity. Stupid.
Well,
that was never true.
I mean, to that point of there is a kernel of truth in everybody's outrage. Like the entire point of what we do on this show, the whole idea of like we're going to show you how to do a reboot right, is that we are having the conversations that lead to well-crafted stories. So if your whole complaint is that people are rebooting things without putting the work into crafting good stories, we agree with you. We just would argue that it's not for a surefit of women and minorities that you're not getting good stories. That really is not the issue.
Right.
Yep. That being said, thanks for leaving a comment. We appreciate anybody who leaves comments.
Actually, no, we don't thank that guy, and he's not allowed to leave comments on our channel anymore.
No. And if you're watching this and you want to leave a comment like that, we will ban you too, because this is our station, and we want cool people who are supportive of each other. That's what we like. We like a community,
which is 99% of our audience. Let's be
100%.
Yeah,
and that's why I want to say, go ahead, Bill.
Well, I was going to say, although if you are like a critical drinker stan and you want to start some internet beef, like we're here for the smoke. Like very much so, very much so.
Bill is definitely the pit bull of the group. We're like, he's the pit bull of the DMX video, just trying to get at the camera. I'm gonna eat that camera.
Dox me, bro. Dox me.
I live on 423 Dewey Cox Lane, mother.
Come catch these hands.
That's awesome. But for real, we really do appreciate everybody leaving comments. It makes this community great, and this is the fun. This is the fun part of this. That part's not fun, but the rest of these comments, even the ones we disagreed with, there's still a kernel of truth on all of them. We truly appreciate what we've built here. So push that subscribe button. Tell all your friends because you know you love this show. And that does it for Reboot Rewind. On behalf of myself, Ed Greer, producer Bill, and Philly Business, we want to thank you for watching Reboot Rewind and being part of this really special community we built here. We'll see you next time.